moving on, we'll re-gear. Get ready to take on Glavenus. The Scorching Blade. Fun fact, Capcom didn't announce that this particular monster was going to be showing up in Iceborne until kind of the middle of their marketing campaign, as they were slowly teasing the cast and lineup. And when people saw hints that this monster was returning, people went nuts. It's definitely a fan favorite monster. And Glavenus is relatively new, having been introduced in Generations. So it's never shown up on a main console iteration at all. It's too new. And the fact they included it in Iceborne. This is going to be a challenge because this particular monster, like Narga, is not too hard to deal with if you can tank and sit there and bide your time. Because I can't sit there and just block every single hit. I'm going to have to be careful. Volcano footprints. Keep an eye out for volcano tracks and see if we can finish that particular quest while we're out here as well. I think we're pretty close. Maybe 5 or so tracks away from filling the bar. It's pretty good. Oh, maybe 3. Just need, I think, one more. One more will do it. And I want to say Glavenus spawns up kind of close to where you run into Diablos. Is that enough? All right. We've fulfilled our objective for the Elder Dragon research, which is good. Oh, that's right. The cutscene's down here. We are pretty close to the Rathian nest. It's Glavenus. Fun fact, if I can explain this while I'm trying not to get murdered here. that cutscene with the Rathian was actually a shout out to the original debut cutscene from Generations where you meet Glavenus. In that cutscene, it's shown fighting a Rathian, and it pretty much beats her up and damages a bunch of her parts, which is why you see the Rathian here resting, had all the battle damage on already. I think it's implied that it's the same Rathian that was fighting Glavenus here. Pretty neat nod. Oof. Attack-wise, Glavenus is a brute-type wyvern. It very closely resembles a dinosaur, in fact. And its most noteworthy feature is its large tail, which resembles a greatsword. Throughout the fight, Glavenus can sharpen its tail, and over the course of time, it'll strike its tail on the ground and it'll glow red hot like that. And when its tail's in that state, it can use it to fling fire at you. Oh. And it's capable of doing that. The newbie killer. That 360-degree turn is incredibly dangerous. But if you can read the tell for it, it's fairly easy to get around. I think if you're right underneath Glavenus when it does the spin, it'll go over your head. I was telling my friend Flammy earlier when I told him I was going to be doing this fight, I said I would be really curious to see if you can shoulder tackle the spin if you time it correctly. Several parts of Glavenus' body can be broken and its tail can be severed. I believe its spines on its back can be broken, its face can be broken twice, I think. And its legs might be injurable as well. Overall, I think this fight is not quite as tricky as Nargacuga with this particular weapon, just because the really damaging attacks that Glavenus can throw at you have a decent amount of wind up. You can see them coming in sort of reposition. With Narga, it moves around so quickly. If you don't position yourself just right, you're gonna get slapped around. But I think overall damage-wise, Glavenus is more dangerous. You take some hits, you're probably gonna die in only a couple. See if we can get another wall shot. It's not facing the right direction. Another fun fact, debuting in Generations, Glavenus is one of the flagship monsters for that game. It's part of a group called the Fated Four, because Generations takes place throughout 4 of the famous cities in the Monster Hunter universe. As a result, there's 4 flagships instead of just 1. And the sort of poster child for the marketing and overall promo stuff for the game was Glavenus. The other 3 are the Leviathan-type water bubble fox, Mizitsune, the ice-based woolly mammoth-looking monster called Gammoth, and the flying electric wyvern called Astalos. All 4 of the Fated Four have really neat designs and are all decently challenging to fight as well. When people saw that Glavenus was returning for Iceborne, they started theorizing whether or not the rest of the crew would show up at some point. And so far there hasn't been any hint from Capcom that they're going to do that, but if they did, I think it'd be a neat nod to the fans, since those other monsters would be great sort of translated into world with new movesets and oh boy. Another thing Glavenus can do, it's technically considered a fire element monster, I believe. But when it spews those bursts that sit on the ground, they function kind of like Dodogama in that they explode after a while. They function like blast. Ow. As a result, you have to be sort of mindful of everything the monster's doing, where it's at, and specifically what it's doing with its tail. Let's see if we can get it in the wall. Nope, not close enough. When it's enraged, when Englavenus sort of winds up to do that double tail smack, it'll follow up with two of them at a time. And we have awoken the Diablos. Let's see if we can get a true charge. Not from all the way over there. Hopefully Diablos doesn't come down here. Dealing with both of those at the same time would not be fun. What did I just say? Let's see if they have a turf roar. Yeah. Pretty cool animation. Glavenus goes for a choke slam and just sort of craters Diablos, and then Diablos says nope, and then forklifts it with its horns and just tosses Glavenus overhead. I think making that fight a draw technically. Now Diablos knows we're here. We're going to leave. I need to get clear so I can sharpen too. I haven't been using my money mantle. I guess I can throw that on for now. Having the rock steady mantle against Glavenus would be handy, since I'd be able to tank through its hits a little bit easier, but I've not unlocked that one for some reason. I will figure out why at some point. What side quest I need in order to get that one. Because the Rocksteady Mantle is one of the best in the game. Uh-oh. Health's getting low. Trying to go for a tail sever on Glavenus here, since a couple of its bits need the tail edge, which you can get from cutting its tail off. Uh-oh. Boy, not timing my shoulder tackles. Whoops. That was a bad time to run out of stamina. I'm gonna get stunned if it clips me one more time. Or just get bodied. One thing that was noteworthy in Glavenus' AI, at least in Generations, I'm gonna assume they carried it forward to this game as well, but the AI seemed to know whenever you were trying to use a recovery item. In other words, if you're running away to heal and With most monsters, if you put yourself far away from the monster, you can pop a potion or likewise just use a recovery item. For Glavenus, the AI seemed to hone in on that, and when it would see you heal, it would do that giant flying slash to immediately come down on you from across the screen, making it very difficult to get a breather when fighting that particular monster. And when it's enraged, that definitely seems like the case. Glavenus will get in your business and not leave, which is part of the challenge. Head break. It looks like it's tired. Into the wall you go. Oh, clean hit on the tail. Good. I think we've chipped it, but we'll need to do more damage if we're going to break the tail off. In addition to doing that tail swing twice, Glavenus is pretty good at re-aiming if it misses. The best way to dodge that is to run perpendicular to it. Ah. And it's got a huge range to it. Oh, that was a 360. Oh, now it's tails. Oh, it's severed. Alright. The overall range doesn't really... Oh boy. The range doesn't really get cut too much when you chip off its tail. It's really more of a piece of the edge, not the overall length of the blade. But getting tail edges, that's good. A couple weapons require that. I think we're making good progress. We still have a couple more breaks to go on Glavenus here. I think there might be one more break on its back and its face. I think what I'll do is to sort of play it safe. I'm going to prioritize hitting its legs and see if I can knock it over. If I can knock it over, then I'll try and land some hits on the other breakable bits. Alright, it's raged. Okay. 360 is not safe at its feet. And I don't know if I'm pro enough to try and shoulder tackle that. The most reliable way to deal with that is to sheath in Superman. There we go. Now we can get the back. Oh, come on. I missed. That move right there, where Glavenus sort of swings its tail inwards from the sides, comes out deceptively fast. That's a dangerous move that can catch you off guard if you're not watching for it. Like so. That's the sharpening animation. After its tail cools off, Glavenus will sharpen its tail back into a honed state, which will allow it to ignite it. But the problem with the animation is the sharpening animation looks very similar to the 360, and it's only subtly different. So you have to be really careful, make sure you're reading its tells correctly, because if you read wrong and it does the spin and you're not ready for it, then that's a carton.